Hi, and welcome to another market update. And before we begin, I just want to say that this tweet here, I didn't realize how much engagement it was going to get and how triggering it was going to be for some people. As you can see, all I wrote here was we're closer to the top than you think for BTC, and that's just basically done here on this chart, right? So what these are just mere multiple bands, right? And they just give multiples of the 200 day moving average, I think it is, right? And it just shows what I would say is overextended zones, and zones when to DCA in. It's not meant to, what I would say is, catch the exact top and bottom, right? That's not what it's for. It's just to give you an idea of where you are in the cycle. Now, if I go back to the last cycle, and I think this is where people were getting a bit, maybe they were getting a bit emotional, because this cycle, what's happened is that everybody, or not everybody, but a lot of people have been waiting for the halving to come, and then obviously Bitcoin to hit all-time highs after that, and then have another year just to make loads of profits and gains. But obviously not every cycle is the same, and you have to make sure you're analyzing correctly. And we've had a really strong, we've had a really strong move up. Now we're probably around here, right? So it's about 27k on these bands, right? And it can ride the bands for some time. And all it was is it's just an observation that when you're around this overheated phase, and don't get me wrong, you can be emotional as you want. When we get to the top of these bands, right, and I've put a fib here as well, where I think probably Bitcoin will top out, right? It's going to retrace quite heavily. Whether you believe it's a temporary retrace back down to, 30, 35k, and then carry on in the bull market, or whether you think it's like myself, we're entering a couple, 2-year bear market. It depends what analysis that you follow and what you believe. But once we get into this zone here, okay, and we start riding these bands up a bit, it's going to be very important to make sure you're actually taking profits or DCing out, or however you want to play it. But just like here, and people are over emotional, down here in this green zone, when they were saying it was going to go down to 10k, 9k, 13k. Once you come into these zones, so the green zone and the orange zone, you have to be careful. You're on two extremes now. Just like here, people were emotional. They were saying it's going to go lower. It's the same reaction when we're here, and people are saying, no, there's no way this is coming to an end, or the first phase or whatever is coming to an end. This is going to go to $300,000 or $500,000. But just so that you understand that Bitcoin, once it gets into these zones, it starts to get overextended. So just keep an eye on that, and no need to get emotional, no need to get triggered by any of this. This is just analysis, price analysis, we'll take it from there, because it's not going to happen overnight. It will take several months, a few months to get to that zone, depending how fast Bitcoin goes. And in this cycle, it's been going quite parabolic. Okay, so let's see how it goes, and keep an eye on this chart, and we'll take it from there. So let's get into some of the Bitcoin analysis. It's been a crazy day today. A lot of volatility. We were down as much as I think it was 5% at one stage, right? So let's see what's been happening on the Bitcoin chart. And what I've done here is I've put a previous week's range. Okay, a previous week's range from Monday up until Sunday. So it shows the range of trading in that zone. And what's happened is we've come down to the value area high of last week's range. So the range was here. So most of the transactions, or most of the trading volume was done around $67,000. The low of that range was 64 or 65,000, and the top of the range comes in here at at $69,000. And Bitcoin has tested it a few times, and as long as this range holds, then I think we got more upside to go. We got more upside to go, and we could reach another leg up in terms of price. This is the Bybit chart, by the way. Okay, and on the fib extension, we are at the 1.68. So if I show you here, 1.618 fib extension zone from the low of wave 2 here. So we have hit resistance. Obviously the first support here is at 68,000, which we are holding, and as long as that holds, I think there's more upside to go, maybe to 76,000, and then we could take it from there. And like I said, on for Bitcoin, there's still the major zones. Let's just take this off so we can see a little more clear. The major zones, we have the big fib here at 84,000. That's still a big zone for me. You probably see a retracement from there, maybe a larger retracement from there, so that's still something to watch out for. But on the smaller time frames, okay, on the smaller time frames, we must hold this area of 68,000, or if we don't, then we could be visiting that low of 65,000 again. So that's something to just be mindful of for Bitcoin. And we're in actually a demand zone. Actually, I don't like to use that one. That's a 12-hour. No, so ignore that. The demand zone is here at the $60,000 range, but we have taken liquidity from there. So because we've taken liquidity from this demand zone here, what we want to see is another imbalance created fairly quickly. Otherwise, it could struggle to make we might have to come back down to go higher. So that's something I'm watching, because each of these you could say imbalance zones should create another imbalance zone. As you can see here, this one created this one, then that created the third one in this row, and this is the fourth. So far we haven't created any more. It's just overlapping price action. It's quite messy at the moment. So my key level is that 69,000, which is like obviously the previous all-time high as well. The top of the previous all-time high. So this zone really has to hold for us to make another move up. So these are the levels to watch out for. So this is the chart I'm really interested in. It's not so much Bitcoin at the moment. It's the total 3 chart, and I'll show you a couple of charts that I've done with the total 3 chart. This is the similar one to the chart I done with Bitcoin, which has now, I don't really use that anymore because we've broken out all-time high. So that that time chart is you could say is done for this bear market and early stage bull market, or mid stage. So we've had the first year bears consolidation. We're in this third year, as we know, and the key thing to note here is we've broken that 733 billion area. Now this area is key because we can now run up to 965 billion, and that will obviously do very, very well for alts. If I go to the shorter time frames, this week we've just broken into it and there's a lot of volatility. Let's go the time frame down, and today we've retested you could say the breakout zone. What I want to see really is a weekly hold here, and then I can be more confident that the alts are going to start running and going making good gains, or the 20-30% and maybe even more gains. So this is something that I want to see, the weekly hold, and this is something we have a few more days left, so that 733 billion area is a key area for me. Also, if I go to the other chart that I've been posting recently, the total 3 chart, let's just take this off. So if I go to the weekly here, as you can see, this week we've gone through the downward resistance line, and this is a very important resistance line. Once you break this, then it's it's game over for the bearish side. You'll for me, that's a signal that the alt market cap will reach all-time highs fairly quickly. So we're just poking our head out of it at the moment. It's good. It's nice to see. If I look at the daily chart, we've poked it yesterday. We've just come out of it. Today we've retested it. I'm not going to call that it's done, because I really want to see a weekly close above this, and then we can start getting excited about alts and that and so forth. But what I would say is, for me personally, these dips that are happening now are very good dips, because these are opportunities that can really change your life. Because if this holds, which I think it will, then alts can see some big rallies. And from this chart, again, we've got that 930 billion that I had on my other charts, the confluence area, and then we've got resistance here at 834 as well. But I think it definitely will start running, because if I can show you the last one, it's the same sort of situation. You come to it, you break, you retest, and then you're on your way. And this is a similar pattern so don't get disheartened at the moment. I know some of you are getting impatient, maybe what's happening with alts, why they're not rallying, why they're not mooning. This area is a very, very key area to break. So let's see how this plays out in the next couple of weeks. But I am bullish on alts, and all dips at the moment, I think are good opportunities to load up on your favorite altcoin. That's something that I will be watching closely. Okay, let's go into some of your altcoins, and before I go into the new ones, I've put a few down here. Let's look at the ones I was looking at in the last update, and the first one was PAAL. I can't remember actually where it was in that sense of the last video, but what I can see from today is that it's come back down. PAAL must have been around here, I guess. Maybe it was even here a few days ago or something when I done that video last time, a few days ago. So we've come back into support. We've hit the last week's point of control, or nearly hit the point of control from last week. Let's see if we're coming into anything. Yeah, we've come into a imbalance zone as well, so a bullish imbalance zone. So realistically from here, now this is where you have to put all of it into context, with total 3 on support, with Bitcoin currently on support, what I showed you. Now with PAAL coming into a support, for me this is something that could be a good risk to reward opportunity. Now, do I know the future? It could, if Bitcoin starts coming down, we can see further downside. It can happen, but I guess trading is about risk to reward. It's about where you feel comfortable. And for me, there's support. There's the big support here, the local support at the 236, coming into an imbalance. You could say that this is a good area to DCA into. The other, on the weekly, the support is well down here, and I don't think PAAL is getting into the 28 to 20 cents range. I think that's a bit unrealistic to hope for at this stage. So if we go into the short time frames, coming into the point of control for the last week, and they're coming into the imbalance zone. So yeah, for me, if PAAL here looks a decent, maybe a decent buy, but obviously do your own research and look into it, and if you feel comfortable, yeah, you can go ahead. Obviously don't come back at me if it goes down. Okay, let's look at AIOZ as well. So AIOZ on the big picture, let's look at AIOZ on the I always like to refresh myself and look at the bigger picture. So AIOZ has broken the 886, right? We know that it's broken the 886. Ideally you want it to come back and test support before you go in, because this has gone really, really high, and again it's coming back down to the 886. It's been bought up. It's holding the last week's value area high, which is what Bitcoin's doing at the moment. So again, that's two confluences there, holding major fib support, holding the value area high from the previous week, and any imbalances it's showing, we can see here. It got into it a few days ago, so it's taking liquidity from there. So what you really want to see now is PAAL starting to make AIOZ starting to make some moves. That would be obviously that would be something that's in your favor. Obviously you've got this whole you could say liquidity range here, and this is the area that I will be looking to. If I already got AIOZ, to be honest, I bought it way down here. So but for anybody who wants to go in now, this would be my zone. Maybe you picked some up here, but this would be my zone. Obviously to DCA in further, you got two zones here. Now with like I said, when coins run up, when I did my video a few days ago, you know, maybe it was here, maybe people were getting impatient, they were seeing green. You always have to let the coins that you want come back into support, and then, you know, so just so the risk is more in your favor, because whether this comes down, you know, even all the way down to 43 cents, you know, maybe it's unlikely, but the point is that you want to buy, you know, on support. You don't want to buy in no man's land where you don't know if it's in a good place or not. So this is why I have my plans. I like to look at least two areas of confluence, or three. So for me, obviously here the fib is an area of confluence, so is the value area high of the week prior, and obviously you've got the liquidity zone as well. So you know, get as many areas of confluence in your what can I say, you know, in your, you know, on your side as possible, and then you know, pull the trigger, because, you know, that's what we're here for. NEAR, let's look at NEAR protocol. I can't remember where NEAR was, to be honest, the last time I did it. So excuse me. So NEAR, at the moment I wouldn't buy it personally. It's you know, yesterday would have been probably a better day to buy it. It went into the imbalance zone. Now it's looking to, you know, go on further. It's well above the value area high of the previous week. So NEAR is a solid coin. It's up 9% today when everything else is red, or a lot of things are red. And yeah, so I don't know, with NEAR, you just have to wait now. So I wouldn't rush into NEAR, even though it's a great coin. Let's look at ZEPH quickly. I think ZEPH, I also said this is the zone to DCA in, and it's in that zone right now, holding the value area low, not the high, the low of the loss of, you know, the previous week's range, into an imbalance zone. But what we want to see now, see, this imbalance was created on the 17th of February. Okay, so, you know, quite a long time ago. Now in this imbalance zone here, it hasn't made a new push up, and that's what you really want to see. So that, you know, it gives me two thoughts here. Maybe it needs to go lower, or maybe it just needs to do a swing failure pattern of the liquidity of the low here, and then push on. So with ZEPH at the moment, I would say, you know, we're at the value area high, low of last week, and we're in an imbalance zone. And I think that, you know, the target will be here around $32-33. That's the next bearish imbalance zone on the daily. If we go into the weekly, you know, you've got a massive zone here. Again, I think ZEPH is going to start running soon. It's just about getting the right area. And for me at the moment, I would want to see this value area low hold, so then we can, you know, break above into the next level. So that's the key level I'll be looking at, is this area here. Maybe, you know, see what happened today. We didn't actually it would be nice to take that liquidity and then go and then recapture the level. We haven't done that, so, you know, it still could maybe come a bit further down, take liquidity, and then push up. But this is an area that's interesting to me for ZEPH, and to be honest, I still haven't looked at it. So, you know, there you go. All right, the other coins I'm going to look at today, a few of them. So let's look at ADA first. Okay, ADA is obviously a coin that many know from last cycle, and you know, similar to, you know, you had the big correction coming down, similar to the Bitcoin chart, right? So if we put, like, the first thing I always like to do when I'm looking at a coin, especially a coin that's had a lot of history, is I want to see the macro fib. Okay, so, you know, the fib from the last all-time high to the all-time low, and then I get a sense of where we are in in the actual cycle. So let's just put the 5.5 on as well. Yep, everything's there. So what you can see, you had the low, the first push up, down, and now if we zoom in a bit, I think we're hitting resistance at the close to the dot 5. Yep, close to the dot 5. This would have been a great, it's hindsight now, but this would have been a great area. This is what I'm talking about in balanced zone, especially on the weekly. You make it here on on December the 4th. You come back into it in January, and that's a great buying opportunity there. That was around 45 cents. Yeah, so now where are we in terms of ADA for an entry? See, ADA right now it's holding, it's in the range for the last week's trading range. So it's tested the value area low a couple of times, and we're in a very tight range here at the moment for ADA. There is no entry for me here for ADA, because number one, the support level is way down here. You could risk it by only having one confluence here, which is the value area low, but for me that's too risky. What you might want to do is wait for another imbalance to be created. If you come back into it, then that would be a good trigger for ADA. For ADA, in terms of all-time highs and all that sort of stuff, what I would say, if ADA does, if it does reach, we should reach all-time highs. Even though I haven't heard much about it this time, my initial target would be around $8 for ADA, around the 1382. That would be something that's quite realistic, and that would be my first target. There is obviously fib zones below that at the 133, 127, 1272. You've got targets here around 4 and also 6, so you can scale out, scale out here, scale out there until it reaches the target. But I would say $8 is something that is realistic for ADA at this stage. Now let's go to a favorite coin of mine, which is TRAC. And again, TRAC, I think in the last update I said wait till it comes back in. I think TRAC, we were definitely around here somewhere, around 150 I think it was, alright. And I said in the last update for TRAC that this is no man's land. You're in the middle of nowhere basically for TRAC. So here you can't buy it here, even though I would say TRAC is going to $15 possibly this cycle. I think it could easily get to like $14-15. The area, it's all about having areas and where you want to buy it. So what I would look first is at the weekly, right? So where is the area? So the area, the strongest area here would be between 1 and $1.10, around $1.14. So that's an area to load up on, right? Now what you notice sometimes is that these imbalance zones, it's not that easy where you can say, yeah, it's gonna come into it and I'm gonna buy it. It may never come into that zone, yeah. But if it does, you have two strong confluences. You have the golden fib zone, the .618, .66 right in here, and also you have a weekly imbalance zone, which is very, very strong, and you shouldn't hesitate if it comes into that area. If I go into the daily now, the daily, what's happened is come into the imbalance zone, and the weakness that is showed is that it's lost the previous week's value area low. So this was the trading range, and you've broken above. If you look here, you've broken below, retested the value area low, and you're continuing down. So we could continue down. We can take all this liquidity all the way down to $1.10, $1.09, and I think that would get into the weekly imbalance zone as well. And then this area would be a great area to load up on TRAC. But what I'm saying is, if you want to, what's you could say what's the difference between $1.10 and $1.20 where it is now? It's better than 150 where we were a few days ago, which is true. You can DCA your way in because this zone is a bullish zone, and this fib resistance or fib support at the moment, the golden zone or the macro golden zone, is something that I think is going to be a strong support. You can see from the other side, look, it took a long time to break through it. Now we're retesting it on the way, from the way down. So here on the way up, it was resistance, broke through it, had a good pump. Now we're coming back down, and hopefully we'll keep that as support and continue further. If I go into the larger time frames, you can see we're in this bearish imbalance zone. It's no surprise that here this is where we were getting the rejection from, because this is the bearish imbalance zone from the last if I show you here from the last cycle. And when I mean bearish imbalance zones, all it means is that is heavy selling going on, price goes back into it, okay, and then it continues down. So there was a lot of selling here that happened, and the candle after didn't really come back into it, so it left a gap, you can say, and price obviously loves to fill that gap. Is filled now, but what we see below is that we see multiple bullish imbalance zones that have been created. So the bulls are trying to push this up, and for me, once TRAC, we've got the resistance here, once TRAC breaks above this diagonal resistance, then it's off to the races. And again, my target for TRAC initially will be around this $11. That will be my first target, and then we talk about higher targets if and when they come. So yeah, TRAC is very, very bullish for me personally. I'm invested in it, but obviously I don't want to give you bad advice because I'm invested in it down here. I bought it at about 22 cents. Obviously going in now is something that's a bit more trickier, because you have to weigh up the pros and the cons from getting a deeper retrace, looking at total 3 right now 750 billion, which I know by from memory is above the is basically above the support zone, which is good. So that's another confluence to think of, and that's all it is when it comes to DCAing in and going in. You have to, that's why I don't just look at a single coin. I look at especially I look at the altcoin market cap, and then try to see how it's playing with the altcoin I'm looking at. So I know that's above support, this is coming into support, we're in some good ranges here, we've got the fib zones, we've got the imbalance zones, so maybe it's a good time to DCA in for TRAC. So that's something that I would be looking at myself. Okay, looking at this coin now, LAI. Now this is a coin that I really wanted, but God knows what happened, and I completely forgot. And my actual buy price was this imbalance zone right here, and I didn't buy it. And this is like a it's AI coin, fairly new. I think it's about 10-20 million market cap. I think it can really run, and now I'm kind of pissed off that I missed it, because from here I don't know, I just can't go back into it now because it's gone too much. So I've missed my zone, which was here around 6.4 cents. So if I look at this again, if I look at it from here, the last week's range, where if we, and this is something that's very interesting to note, the only other entry possible that I would do from here, okay, this is last week's range. You got the value area high, the point of control, again where most of the trading was done. You can see there was not much trading done, it was just straight up, and the low of the range of last week's range. If we manage to break above what's that, nearly 8 cents, which we have is 8.4, and we can retest the value area high as support, that would be another entry. So watch out for this coin. I think it's pretty decent. It's on KuCoin, I think it is, and yeah, it's a AI it's a coin that someone told me about, and I think I could make an entry into that, but quite pissed off that I missed it here. But anyway, let's go to the next coin. Let's look at Rose. Rose again. If I put on, Rose is from high to low. We have now successfully cleaned up all this bearish imbalance zone, which is on the monthly, which is the strongest one. The next one you have comes in at the golden zone, around 20 cents. Okay, so Rose from here, it's on the monthly, it's a great entry, on support. And this is something I want to tell you as well. On the 0.5 support here. So we've got the 0.5, we're in. I think obviously the best entry would have been the 236. If I put that in, yep, 236, it just comes nicely. You know, you break it, and this is something, if you can learn this is something that's really, really great. You know, you have the bullish imbalance zone, and then you come back into it, and you're trading inside this bearish imbalance zone. You know it's gonna go, you know it's gonna take off, because now we have two bullish monthly imbalance zones, and it's basically defeated, you can say, the bearish one, which happened you know, in 2022. So let's go down to some lower time frames. Lower time frames again, weekly, you know, that would have been a great entry. Hindsight, it's always great, isn't it? That would have been a great entry here, because you created that zone on the 23rd of December. You came into it probably in January, when it was when we did have a low of total 3 as well. I remember back in January there was a point where we were hitting support, so that would have been let's just look at that. Actually, let's look at the 22nd of January 2024. So if I go into, if we go into total 3 and look at the 24th of Jan, so 24th was around here, right? And what you can see, it's retesting the breakout range here. So that would have been, obviously that would have been a good place to buy rows. This whole area would have been, you know, all the way across here. So, well, that's gone, so we can't do anything about that now. Let's see currently where we're at. And for rows, again here, I don't think it's the best place. Well, I lie, actually. We're holding the value area low of the previous week's range, which is something that's bullish. You know, this holds. That could be this could have been a first entry. You know, going back into this is two confluences. You got the bullish imbalance zone and the global fib here. Probably the 0.5. Okay, so you've got this area where it's actually three confluences now. Look at it. It's the liquidity here, the fib. You know, it's a decent entry. It's probably the best entry. The second entry now, you've only got one confluence, which is the value area low of the previous week's range. So as long as this holds, yeah, it's looking, you know, we can continue going up. And you know, the target will be this golden zone area, which will be coming in about 20 cents, and then obviously we'll have to break this resistance line to really set an all-time high. And again, the all-time high for rows, you know, I'll be targeting $1. I'm generally targeting the 1382. Obviously as we get closer, then we can look, you know, in more detail, but about $1.80 in this area would be something which we can target for rows. Okay, let's look at CAS. CAS is a strange one. CAS has no, you can draw a fib, but it's like, CAS is just like 1 2 1 2 1. You know, it's just 1 2s everywhere. And with CAS, you know, it's a very, very bullish coin. That's what I will say with that. And with CAS, we've come into this zone here. You know, look at this. Just you can just look at this bullish imbalance zone created in February. Look how many times 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 times you've come into this zone. We really need to start getting out of this zone now. If we don't get out of this zone and start pushing higher, it's going to come further down. This is what I mean. Look, how many times can you take liquidity from the same area before you break down or break up? So here there's two good areas here. You got the value area low of the previous week's range, holding support. You've probably taken all that liquidity now. All that liquidity is gone with this candle, and I would say this is actually probably a decent entry for CAS. You know, 1 2 3 1 2 3. You got like a three-wave move down, and you can push up just off this range. If let's just get a trend fib, see where we can target this range. So if this is the low, we can probably target something, you know, 618 comes in at 22 cents. The 1-to-1 from here is around, that's 22 cents, and that's around 28 cents, and that's something that you can target. Obviously a whole all-time high for CAS is difficult based on there's no history, but once we complete the waves, once we've completed wave 4, then I can give a better all-time high target for CAS. At the moment, for an entry on the daily, we're at an entry point. We've got 2 confluences. You got other entries here at 13 and 12, comes in here. But on the weekly, let's look on the weekly, because the weekly probably give us a better range. Let's zoom in. I can't really see from here. So the weekly comes in balance zone here. Whether you get back in here 13 cents, these, and when you have such a big, when you have such a big imbalance zone, you sometimes wonder to yourself, where can I even get in? Normally you look at the wicks. The wicks are broke market structure, and what I mean by that, right? So you can say market structure. So this was a support. This broke it here, right here. This broke all this market structure. So the top of these wicks is something where normally you have the strongest kind of support, and actually makes sense, because look, you're bouncing off that area. I know the imbalance zone is here, but it doesn't necessarily have to come into it. But this is a wick where we're bouncing off, and if you go one time frame lower, you can see that there is actually a bullish area here. So for CAS, as long as total 3 holds that support, CAS will go higher from here. And this is where you always have to, I always look at total 3 if that holds that support, because I know we're on support. So it's around 740 billion or 35 billion or something like that. This will also start moving forward. Now this is coming into, this is the first time I've seen it. This is coming into the weekly zone. So for here, this is a very bullish setup in terms of coming into a weekly imbalance zone. I don't think weekly imbalance zones, there's no bearish imbalance zone above, there's nothing. So think about this, these imbalance zones are huge sellers, either they're huge buyers or huge sellers, right? Now we've had on this candle here, we've had a huge, and this is confirmed by the way, the imbalance zones, they are confirmed after 3 candles. So you have the candle before, the main candle, and the candle after it. Once all of the 3 are closed, so you have to wait for the 3rd one after, then an imbalance zone gets created. I know some people, you can create it with only 2. Some people use it only to get ahead of the market, but me personally, I like to wait until you have 1, 2, 3, and then the space in between the wicks. So you got that wick there for the first candle, and you got the second wick here. So you've got this space here where basically there's a lot of buy orders, for example here. So now what in theory how this works is, now profits get taken and people want to test the buyers. Do the buyers have basically do they have the strength to push this up further? So if we take this, so we had the first one here, they had the strength, they pushed it. The second one came in, the third one. So each bullish imbalance zone is creating another one. So what we need to think here is this one should now create another bullish imbalance zone, because there's no bearish imbalance zones above us, nothing's been created. So in theory there's no heavy sellers above us. We've come into the weekly imbalance zone. Okay, if we go to the daily now, let's look at last week and what's happening. We're holding last week's range, which is a very tight range, by the way. Monday to Sunday, yep. So we're holding that. I think we're holding the point of control. So from here, so we're in a weekly imbalance zone, we're now in a daily imbalance zone. This potentially, this is a good a signal as ever. This should go up, this should continue going up further. Okay, this is just probabilities. So this is, I wouldn't say this is bearish at the moment. What you can say, you can come further into this imbalance zone, but this is a great spot, and you got the 886. If you retest $1.30, you've got the 886 fib support, and you got this zone here. Okay, especially on a weekly. And going forward, looking at targets for what's it called, Arc block. You know, $7.5, $8 would be a good. I don't think that would be the top personally. Could go a lot higher than that the way it's moving. I don't know. Is this some? What's happened to this? Is something happened with this coin that's become a monster in this, you know, in this bull market? So we have to see, you know, in for Arc block in that way. And I can just see near pumping even more. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed the update. Again, please, with the tweets, don't get emotional, don't get triggered. They're just tweets at the end of the day. And yeah, I'll see you next time. Take care.